How you doing, folks? Well, I decided to have a go at cleaning this radio up, and I ended up disassembling it completely. And I have the grill, the bezel, and the case cleaned up there now, and I think it's looking pretty good. It was actually covered in a layer of nicotine, which was disgusting, to be honest with you. So that took some doing to clean off, but it's cleaned up inside and out now anyway, and I think it's going to look pretty smart. So we have that part done, and yes, it's on a draining board, but that does not mean that I was using water for cleaning it. I was using solvents and things like that. I just wanted them to go down the sink. So you can see that I've kind of made a fairly decent attempt at cleaning up the chassis. It's not perfect, but it's a hell of a lot better than it was. And to be honest with you, it doesn't need to be perfect. You know, I mean, it's actually, it was working before I even started. Albeit badly. Now, the other thing as well too was a couple of small repairs I had to do. One of them involved the speaker here, around the outer part just on this side here. It was coming away. So what I did was I used some of this kind of a shellac stuff, Permatex gasket sealant. It's got the word aviation on it, so it must be good. Only that were true. I've said too much. Yeah, so anyway, the speaker should be pretty decent now anyway. Obviously, you don't want to have to go and replace that because you won't get one that's exactly the same. And it's nice to kind of keep it original in that respect. So we have that done, and then in little teacup here is the three knobs, and it's nice this radio actually has its full complement of knobs, because they're always missing. You know, every other radio I have is missing at least one knob. You can insert your own jokes there, folks. Yeah, I think that's going to be pretty good. Now, I also obviously have the valves removed. And here are the offending articles here, and we know they all work, so they'll be going back in, and I was conscious of making a little note as to where they go. And finally, this little bag of goodies arrived. So what are these goodies? Capacitors. So I'm replacing the paper and wax capacitors with these ceramic discs. They will do the job absolutely fine. They're not polarized. The paper and wax ones aren't. Those little fiddly ones, I have to be careful I don't inhale them, because they're tiny. A few different assorted types, but they're the right values. So you have like 0.1 microfarad 500 volt ceramic disc capacitor. So that's what I'm looking for. Mouser are quite good, but the only thing I find about Mouser is that if you don't buy €50 worth of stuff off them, they screw you with the shipping cost. It's 20 quid to get just this little bag of stuff here. And to be honest with you, the reason I go with Mouser rather than other suppliers is simply because of the fact that they always have the stuff in stock. Every other place you go to, either their website is a pain in the face, or what happens is you get 90% of the way through kind of doing your list of parts and finding everything, and you find that they don't have one item you need and it hasn't been in stock for 3 months or whatever, so you end up having to go somewhere else to buy like a bulb or something like that. So I also have bulbs there for another radio that I'm also doing up. The Felgate radio needs bulbs, and so does the Marconi, so they'll be both getting bulbs. So I'll throw them all back in there for the moment, because now it's the time for me to sit down for the evening with a cup of tea and pick that up tomorrow. Okay, folks, as I said, it is a nice little kitchen table job, this. So I now have all the capacitors replaced, and this is the following day. That one there was the one that was actually blown out. So there's a new one in there. They look different, but these are ceramic disc capacitors, and slightly later radios they would have used ceramic disc capacitors, so they're absolutely fine. They look different, but they'll do the trick. And what I'll probably do is just put a little bit of insulation tape. Actually, I don't even really need to, because it's going to ground anyway, so even if it touches the chassis, it doesn't make a difference. So they're all done, and then these lads down here are done. They're all the correct value, rated at 500 volts, except for these ones. I couldn't get 500 volt ones, so they're actually rated at 1000 volts. But if they're getting 1000 volts, then we've definitely got a problem. yeah, the next thing to do is to put everything back together again. Here are the old capacitors there, the little wax cover jokes. Kind of horrible actually, they're sort of gicky, it's like earwax on them. Yeah, what I'm going to do is turn it back over, pop the valves in. My little repair on the speaker cone came good as well, so that should sound a bit better. It won't be flapping in the breeze. Yeah, let's get the valves popped back in. Okay, so the valves are now back in. That's the capacitor I'd already replaced previously, so that one's all good. You'll see this blue wire that goes down to the chassis. That's there because the original one had a metal can, and the metal can was ground. This one has a plastic can, so it has a separate grounding pin. So that's the only reason that's there. I made a sensible decision to make a note of where the valves are, and yes, that one, the second one from the right, actually does say tall because the markings are gone off it, and I don't know what value or what valve it actually is. So yeah, next thing we'll do is put it all back in the enclosure, put the speaker back in, and we'll try it out. Okay, so it is the moment of truth. One of the things I did was actually replace the mains cable as well too, just from a safety perspective. It seems to me like a good idea. That and the fact that the old one was actually perished. So that's definitely improved the safety of this unit, we hope. So I'm a little bit nervous, but let's see what happens when we turn it on. Okay, it lights up anyway, that's a good start. So, valves are all heating from what I can see. We'll just give it a little while for them to kick into life. And we'll switch it to, it's on long wave there now, so I'll take you and just bring you around the back and I can just show you inside. Even if it doesn't work properly, which I'm hoping it will, even if it doesn't work properly, I think it looks pretty cool anyway. It's definitely an awful lot happier looking now. There's still a few screws that need replacing. I need to find suitable screws for holding the chassis into the cabinet and then holding the back onto the chassis. So let's see how we're looking now. Okay, we're starting to get audio now. We're just getting home. For the moment, anyway. Let's switch to medium wave and see if anything's happening there. I think that home is just it picking up the noise of the fridge compressor actually. Maybe I'm being impatient and it takes longer for the valves to heat up. It's kind of disappointing. It was working better before I touched it. Okay, let's have a quick gander inside and see if everything is as it should be. I'm doing the old sniff test here to see if there's any burning components or anything like that. cycling that switch a few times there, just clean off any muck from the components or from the contacts. Okay, let's pull the chassis out and investigate. Okay, round 2. I found a dry joint, so hopefully that was it. This time I'm not bothering putting it back in the case, not until we get it working. It was a bit previous of me, I have to say, but you know, I lived in hope. Success, folks. It's working.
Teaching 36 of those in the same
I'm delighted about that now. Turns out that the extension lead I had it plugged into was working as probably an induction coil or something like that, and was preventing decent radio reception. That and the fact that I was quite a bit distance away from a window. So, anyway.
Let's see what you're saying. School teacher in County Sligo. The children in my school ran in the gates this morning with such excitement, laughing and joking.
It's up and running anyway, so let's wait until a bit of music comes on and see how it sounds.
That's the reason I love my job.
Already it definitely sounds a lot better than it did the last time. The dreaded intermittent fault. I tried to see if there was any other radio stations, and I turned the tuning dial, and well, we're back to where we started. So I don't know what's going on, to be honest with you. I'm sort of stuck at this point, so I need to have a look. It's obviously it's in the like the amplifier's working fine. It's just it's in the tuning section of the radio, and there's obviously something that's just not quite happy. I'm wondering, is it even the selector or something like that? Like if the selector switch had corrosion on it, maybe what I need to do is actually take that apart and clean the contacts properly, because that would make sense. Let's try that.
On the line,
well, it's up and running, folks.
So the government took the attitude that we're not going to.
Pots are nice and clean. It's sounding really well. That repair I did in the speaker seems to have worked well. It's all nice and clean inside. And what turned out to be the problem, and this is the interesting thing, is the fins inside the plates, I suppose you'd call them, inside the variable capacitor for tuning, were full of dust. And obviously what had happened was when I was cleaning everything else, a load of dust just got blown in there, and what was happening was just shorting out the plates. So I cleaned them out. What do you reckon, Rodney? Yep. I cleaned them out, and it came good. So yeah, I'm delighted with that now. So it's working really well. I have the back to put on it. I need to get a couple of screws, but that's I think that's a win. I mean, it sounds as good as new, so I'm not going to get it any better than that. And if I do say so myself, it sounds as good as new as well. So, thanks very much for watching, folks. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in a future video. Thanks for watching.